Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Feminine Legacy Podcast. This is your host, Jackie Ma. And today I wanted to talk about liberation. We hear about this word liberation and the great work of liberation on our planet. And what I know is that the more we grow and the more consciousness more awareness we have, the deeper our language, the understanding of what words mean to us really drop in a different form. It's like you can receive a teaching at one point in time, and then as you grow and mature into a fuller, more aware being, when you receive that same teaching, it looks so different than it did on the day you first received it. It's like all of a sudden the fruit becomes ripe. And so, as it pertains to liberation, this is not to denote anybody else's understanding of what that looks like. As I said, when I started, it looked like one thing. And then the more that I grow and the more that I evolve, it means something completely different. And this is a bigger teaching in itself, right? In that this is happening with everything and the way we're perceiving our realities, the way that we're embracing ourselves and the way we're showing up in the world. But it's really valuable as it pertains to like racism and all of like the big patriarchy, like all of the big ideas and revolutionary um, changes that want to take place on our planet. So liberation is really at the forefront of every soul. It might look externally like we are trying to get free outside of ourselves, but true liberation, it starts on the outside, right? And then it gets internalized, and we understand that the mechanism is actually from within. And there's a lot of confusion about that generally, right? People who are not yet within are mad that the people that are within aren't out there like this. But one precedes the other. It's a natural journey of understanding this. And that's not to say that it doesn't go in both directions, but generally we perceive it from the outside first. Hey, something out here needs to change. Like something's not just out here. And the more awakened you become, the more you see is, wow, I'm participating in a collective consciousness where this injustice is taking place. What needs to be adjusted and what needs to become just inside of me? What needs to be liberated within me so that I can do my part and transform this, and also then bring that antidote to the collective consciousness. So I wrote something. I just need to see if I can minimize this and share it with you. So as I said, the work of liberation is really an inside job. Um, when we are expressing it outwardly, which I'm not saying again that there's anything wrong with that. There were many projects in my life um, or things that I felt needed to change, and I stood up or went to a meeting or rallied or whatever the case may be. It started there for me. And then it started to evolve in me. And I was like, oh, wow, me, my ancestry, like spiritually, I have a responsibility inside, right? So the blame isn't outside anymore, that like everything is awry, everything is crazy, and everything is terrible. I then can turn in to myself and be like, okay, what's my piece? How can I accept responsibility to transmute, transform, and do the spiritual work that will then bring great change to me in the way I participate in the world, which is it's really that's our work, the liberation, right? And understanding that we are it's gonna I'm gonna weave us into the ancestral piece, but we have for those that are aware that want to take the responsibility from within instead of just yelling at everybody else, right? We understand, wow, there's something inside of me that is triggered from this. There's something inside of me that is in pain. Wow, there's something that has happened within my ancestry. There's something that I'm participating in because I am a living participant in this world. And so we start to just assess, okay, instead of it being like, terrible outside. Okay, if it's bothering me, I have a role to play. Okay, great. And for many, it will be I have a role to play, so I'm going to go externally blame and try to like shame and blame systems that are not functioning well. But we can't really make a change until we transmute and create an alchemy inside of us. What happened with me, my ancestors? What energy, even the blame is could be ancestral energy that just has not yet been dealt with. And here you are, here you are, here I am, and it's coming up through us. So it's our duty then to transform and liberate within the energy that is present. I'll give you an example, but another example. But first, let me just read this to you. So, true liberation work frees all from suffering and karma. So, it uplifts and it emancipates. It accepts lovingly responsibility for the feelings, for the energy that is at hand. It takes the victim and washes it so that it has and it so that it finds inner authority. It is given unto itself permission to exist fully without consent and without permission from the external environment. So, in other words, it brings it back again that it's an inside job. You cannot seek liberation on behalf of another, pointing fingers or blame, expecting someone else to do their work. The divine work is the willingness to see the fabric of contention held within yourself, within the web, and within the web of souls that you're connected to, and the spirits, obviously, the spirits, the souls of the ancestors that you are in relationship to, or that you're in community and collective um, weave with, and go back to the place of origin and transmute, where we encounter the great many spirits who were also not at home in themselves and had experienced this trauma or pain over lifetimes and over a succession of years, for example, like our grandmothers, great grandfathers, all of the lineage that were also holding a seed and a thread, and maybe in their lifetime, likely, if you're still carrying it, they were not able to transmute it within themselves. And here we are. If you are doing spiritual work and you are conscious of it, then you begin to see that, wow, it's not that I need to seek vengeance on behalf of my ancestors to right the wrong outside and be angry about it, but it's to bless what is inside of me and to transmute and transform that suffering through love inside, neutralize the energy, and bring the blessings and the boons by you doing that back to the ancestors. So it's like working with the ancestors, what we call the Petrus, the divine ascended ancestors, to work in tandem with you to then bring that blessing to the ancestors that have not yet received that. And then so we all work together. It becomes quite beautiful. So then I wrote that it says here, so then all of us are elevated from those karmas. So at first, again, we look outside and we think it's something we have to do outside of ourselves. So once you see, wow, the web is inside of me, and I just want to transmute it and transform it and bring the blessing within. That is actually the Dharma, right? That's like where the collective songbird gets to sing, and you get to then be the blessing, because it will shift the way in which you're perceiving and the way then that you're engaging in your living community and in your family, because you will no longer be coming from that place of blame or anger. You will be much more satiated in stillness and forgiveness if you can pull that, right, and draw that within yourself. And then you actually you liberate yourself, you liberate and create the opportunity for your ancestors to be liberated. And then you can bring that blessing into your family and community, no matter what is going on outside. Like, no matter how biased, no matter how crazy the world seems upside down, it's always an opportunity for us to do the work inside. And I want to be careful with the word work, because that in the world right now is really thrown around, especially with social justice movements and um, yeah, a lot of the division in the name of doing good work is actually creating more karma and creating a lot more upheaval. But everybody is doing the best they can where they are. But if you hear this and you're like, oh, snap, like I need some help with this, I'm here for it. It's again, we have to be able to shift out of blame. We have to recognize who we are, honor who we are, accept all the things that came before us, make the transmutation and become the living prayer. And not like, oh, I'm so good because I'm doing the work. Like there's a lot of wanting to belong and wanting to feel good about ourselves. It's spiritual ego, right? We get pumped up a lot in like this work with psychology and social justice. It makes us feel like we belong to something and we're a part of something and that we're doing good work. So we have to become really careful about how that plays us because it plays us. And then people become like so arrogant and believe that their way is the way, right? And it just creates, it's actually the same exact dynamic of oppression that we were trying to originally heal, and nobody actually is liberated. It's a false sense of power, and it's an issue. So, ancestral work, to weave this all back in, liberation work is deeply rooted in ancestry because each one of us is very unconscious, mostly about what's operating through us that we claim as us. So it's like the ecosystem and the infrastructure that is operating our brains, that's operating the way our body's functioning, and the way that things are moving through us. We like accept and embrace that this is just the way it is. And in actuality, it's not just the way it is. It's the way in which we've known it to be. And oftentimes we, even when we know that it's not the truth of who we are, we defer to it because it's really challenging to come up against patterning that's been there for maybe thousands of years, and to have enough courage and to love ourselves enough to be able to, I don't want to say rival it, but when you step next to it, when the light steps next to something unconscious and dark, there is a friction, there is a challenge at hand. And who is going to win? Like, which wolf are you going to feed? And our job is not to like placate, like, oh, it's so sad and bad what's happened. It's horrific, a great deal of what has happened and what continues to happen. But what makes it more horrific is the tolerance that we have acquired through generations of ancestors of like, this is just the way it is. And the power and the love. It's, I mean, uh, let me just breathe into that. The self love that needs to be pulled to be able to transmute and sit next to and stand next to that material that is in so much pain or that is so unconscious. It 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 requires a great deal of love and awareness and willingness and fortitude, and so it's a thing. So we have to watch. I like, it's like I spy with my little eye. We have to watch all the ways where where we get played, you know, where we don't have enough awareness yet, or where we succumb and just say accept, oh, this is the way it is, and continue to be rivals within ourselves. And what we don't realize is there's always something more that is emerging through us. Like the big she is always wanting to come through, right? She's always wanting to bring more love through. And if something is judgmental or intolerant and it has been the boss for so long, you know, we talk about these external dynamics of domination out in the world as though they're like, God, what's the word that just came sort of with, it's like, it's happening outside, but oh, it's not here. Like it's just not here at all. And it's like, it's right here. And it's not just happening because of your skin color. I mean, you're holding a particular thread in the body, the suit that you're in, for sure. But we have to really, really watch how the pendulum swings. We have to become so watchful and honoring of the truth of who we are, and really start to dispel that which is not us, which is really honoring of us and our ancestors, because those people who are choosing to do it, P.S., it doesn't mean you're like, oh, so good. It just means that you're starting to love yourself enough and you're becoming intolerant of what has been built up because it's not even you, right? There's this idea then that we like are our ancestors, and to a certain degree that answer is yes, and there are genetics, and yes, there are epigenetics. But if we want to liberate, we need to be able to want to stand within the line in who we are, and that means we need to defrag who we're not and get really, really clear, because it continues to evolve every day. It will evolve. If you choose it, if you are like, I'm 100% in, I'm choosing every day, and you make your Sankopam, your intention every day is to be true to yourself, you'll start seeing all the ways that you're not. Until recently, I thought I was practical. For I'm 47 years old, and I've carried this with me for a really long time, and I believed that I was practical, and it just finally fell apart. Like these things oftentimes are like a mold, and then enough light is there, and wow, you just get to start to see, whoa, that wasn't even me. That was something that I believed that validated something that was coming through my ancestry of like, one, it made me feel good that I was practical. Um, and also it came through the lineage, and I was so identified with it, I couldn't see that I wasn't it until I could see it, right? So we have to walk it really gently, because you're going to see shit every day that you are like, oh my god, I believed this for so long. I believe this was who I was. I believe my personality was who I was. This is the way I am. This is the way I've always been. Bullshit. Bullshit. And we have to want ourselves enough. And I'm in this journey. It's like I'm fighting for myself. You know what I mean? And you only know what I mean if you're doing it too, because it is, we have to be relentless, relentless with our love. We oftentimes hear in the spiritual world about the attack from the outside world, like the entities on the outside, and the energies, like in somatic experiencing, like how we're having this differential in the body. The bottom line is we're having a fucking serious differential of consciousness in our bodies. And one has been awakened in light, and the other one is connected to the old structures, programming, ancestors. And the two are there. And so, the course, it's been in the body. We've been so unconscious, and it's been handed down body by body. So, when it awakens, it's struggling. It's not just like a trauma experience. I mean, it was already trauma that was handed down, in that it was muted to a certain degree, that everybody was identified with something that is not who they are. I mean, that's fucking traumatic. That's another piece of the trauma of like waking up from living underneath something that you're not even who you are. I mean, welcome to the world of awakening, right? Every day is like, whoa, whoa. And so just consistently choosing. So liberation is about, one, it's always going to be about you and me getting free. And before you start, thinking, yes, it's beautiful to have a prayer for the collective, like to have mass liberation. But the reality is, the liberation of whether you're in a black or a white body, or whether you're a male or female, or all these things, these are symptoms of an entire population that has been mass kept from awakening their higher consciousness. Like, you are a spiritual being. Nobody, like, we just need, that's the bottom line. Because if soon as each one of us remembers that, then the journey really begins. Not because it's cool or it's fun, because there's nothing cool about it, and it's not so fun a lot of the time. To be able to like pull down consistently everything that you're not, and shatter egos and generations and everything, and to be able to be like, I'm not that, and wow, who am I now? I'm that. I want to bring that here. So liberation is an inside job. And so the collective prayer, although yes, I want even the idea of the word race to go away. I mean, it's a vile word. And who's going to get there first, and who's bigger and who's better. And wow, I actually want to make a whole video on something else about that. But if we start to understand that this is a conundrum at a psychological, spiritual level for humanity, it's not just some people that are on a spiritual path while others will awaken at some point. We all are spiritual beings on a journey to remember and awaken. Now, it looks different for every single soul, but that's what we've come here to do. We didn't come here to like buy Louis Vuitton. Like, a lot of people think that our journey here is like all about, yes, it's about creation, divine creation, and experiencing yourself as God. But the truth is, what we want to do is actually experience ourselves as God, which means that even though Louis Vuitton is wonderful and we want to experience relationships and babies and grow and do all these cool things, the real reason you're here, the real reason I'm here, is to remember who we are. And Louis Vuitton doesn't mirror who you are, right? It mirrors that you can have something, which is awesome. But do you see the distinction I'm making? It's like, how can I see myself as love? How can I see myself as divine will in action, as in power? And how, if I really feel a call from the ancestors, which I do, I freaking love. I just love it. And whether you call it genetics, we're kind of calling, there's a lot of names for a lot of the things that we're doing, and they're all actually very related to the same thing. But we're coming at them from different angles based on our consciousness and maybe the gifts and the specialties that we carry. So stay attuned to what yours is and keep considering and choosing, like, okay, if there's anywhere where I'm looking outside myself in liberation work, if I know there's many, many things on this planet that I've been like really angry about, right? Mass manipulation, coercion, lying, right? Everything's a big old lie. So it's an assault. So what do? We have to tune inward. We got to go inward. What's my part in this? Am I believing the outside world? I need to summon my power now. I need to transmute this. I need to summon and transmute the anger that I feel in me because all of this is happening around me. I contributed to that sleepiness. I was a part of everything that's happening here. I was part of the ones that betrayed myself. I unconsciously, but I did. So it's this bigger forgiveness and like, oh, I have my own work to do. And I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to call on the teachers to help me do it. And I want to help me and my ancestry get free and bring my collective peace so that I can bring the antidote to the world. And that is true liberation. And then from this more neutral space of like knowing what is true, what is not true, I've already like transmuted a whole lot of the rage and the pain. And saying I would transmute it doesn't mean like it's wrong that I'm feeling it, but if it's just going to cause rebellion and it's going to cause more Shakti, like more misuse of power inside of me, and it's going to guide my energy in a way that's going to create more of a reaction and more karma and more negative talk. And I'm going to add into the collective in a way that is not honoring of me, not bringing a true antidote. Just see how we get played. There's a distortion and we believe we need to act in a certain way, but we're reacting through the same energy that is being filtered through us. And we have to be able to be like, no, fuck that. I don't want to participate in that anymore. That's not who I am. My ancestors went through this. I need to transmute it. And this is where you'll also see, and this is actually for another video, but where we can get with the unhealed ancestors, and that anger and vibration can come through, and we're blaming everybody and we're victimized and we're actually not creating a solution. Then we go into the polarization of blackness and whiteness and male and female, instead of being able to be the living, breathing ancestor, like the antidote, the future ancestor who is sitting here and looking out at the collective and saying, I accept responsibility for the energy that's moving through me. I accept responsibility for even the sadness and the pain of, or the regrets that came through my ancestry. It's not then like a pit fight and psh, 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 everybody's fighting. Then you understand that we are brothers and sisters of all these nations that have come together to do our part. But are you going to do the part that is true, do the soul part, or are you going to work on the surface level and just demand like a child that you want shit to change, but yet you haven't cultivated that love within yourself to actually bring the change on the planet? So this is really a big thing. And no matter where you are, please, lots of love. I mean, I used to stomp my feet and fucking scream around, and it was call the news broadcasters and like cause a lot of, to the extent that I could at one time. That's the only thing I had, was to be able to use my body in this way. I didn't have yet the understanding that I had a responsibility at a spiritual level to make a change inside of me. And I'm still learning to take responsibility every day. There's so many avenues that we have not seen that we're responsible for, because how could we be responsible when we were never taught we were spiritual beings? Now we're like in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and everybody's trying to catch up. We have a lifetime to catch up on, not to mention probably a whole lot more of them. So lots of grace and love as we are navigating this process. And but it's true. So hear what I'm saying. And if again, if you need help, if you need to book a session, if you need to like understand how to work with your wise, if you need clarification as to how it's operating in your own life and you want to be more responsible, this shit isn't just all happening to us. Like the chaos we see in the world, it is a reflection of something we're participating in, and it's nobody's fault. But if we don't each one by one take responsibility at a spiritual level and learn how to work with it and bring the medicine, if it's bothering you, there's something for you. If if it's not bothering you, either you're denying it or you have already transmuted it. And each one of us will weigh in differently on different topics because we have a different medicine than somebody else. And each one of us is particularly geared up based on who we are, what our ancestors have experienced, the body we've chosen, our lifetimes. It it's all signs for what it is that wants resolve in you and in the world. And I know that we can bring that. Like if each one of us lovingly comes forward and says, okay, I'm responsible for this piece, right? It's not like just the slave owners of those descendants that need to heal. It's the ones who it's all of us, and we were all a part of all of it. So whatever's coming through is the only thing you can deal with, right? Because that's it's showing you, it's pulling at you like, hey, look at this. If it's upsetting you, it's pulling at you like this. It's not about in the external world just like bringing all of your business to white people or all of your business to black people and supporting this in a certain way, because it's still in polarity. You're still not understanding that there's something bigger. So sending you big big hugs. We can do this. We're doing this. And if you need any help, message me and book an appointment through the website. Thank you so much. Ciao ciao.